Countries around the world are trying to figure out how to ditch the US dollar, and some increasingly are succeeding.
China has declared a war on the greenback. First, Brazil made the switch. Now Argentina has entered the club. Argentina will use the yuan for trade with China, and they'll start this month.
Now, China and Brazil should start conducting trade between them using their own currencies, of course, bypassing the dollar.
What happens when a major global power declares we're done with the US dollar and takes a sharp turn toward gold? For decades, the US dollar has dominated international finance, standing tall as the world's preferred currency for trade, reserves, and global transactions. It has been at the heart of America's global supremacy. But wait a moment. China, the emerging superpower, has decided to distance itself from the dollar. Instead, it's making a massive bet on gold. So here's the real question. Will this completely shake up the global financial game? Let's dig deeper. First things first, money. For many years, the US dollar has been the gold standard, pun intended, of the financial world. It's the currency used worldwide for trade, the main reserve asset facilitating global payments, and the tool that the United States uses to assert its influence over the planet.
This special role has long irritated other countries. In the 1960s, the French finance minister coined a term to sum up the contempt. The dollar, he said, had an exorbitant privilege. Zhang Yanling, a former executive from the Bank of China, argued in a speech last week that the Western sanctions on Russia and the weaponization of finance that we've seen would cause the US to lose its credibility and undermine the dollar's hegemony in the long run. She suggested that China should help the world get rid of the dollar hegemony.
However, there's a catch. The system is starting to show cracks. The dollar was once seen as reliable, stable, and trustworthy. In recent years, though, soaring inflation, spiraling US debt, and a gradual decline in purchasing power have tarnished its standing. There's also the added issue of America wielding its financial power in ways that are far from popular internationally. The United States has weaponized the dollar, frequently enforcing sanctions to penalize governments and corporations that oppose its agenda. Then there's the ongoing political volatility in the United States, which has made many nations, including China, rethink whether holding vast reserves of dollars is truly wise. This is where gold steps in. China, ever the economically pragmatic giant, views gold as a safer and more reliable store of wealth. Gold has stood the test of time, remaining immune to the decisions of political leaders or the value fluctuations of paper currencies. With faith in the dollar waning, China has steadily amassed a staggering quantity of gold, where the US dollar no longer reigns supreme. As China's gold reserves climb, the entire financial balance begins to shift. This challenges long-established power structures, including America's traditional grip over the global financial system.
The trade between Russia and China is growing exponentially, with Russia holding a large trade surplus. That trade surplus is held in a gold differential account with the PBOC. So what Russian economists, who is running the financial side of BRICS Plus, developing their new trade and currency platforms, what's now going to happen is that member countries can trade within themselves or even externally eventually on a currency that's based on 20 commodities that they produce, but valued not in US dollars, but in grams of gold.
But this opens up an even bigger question. What happens to the United States if China makes its decisive move? Before we dive deeper, let's take a moment. Are you enjoying this video? If so, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more content exploring China's development, power, and global influence. Now back to it. The US dollar has been the bedrock of America's global dominance for good reason. It provides the United States with unparalleled leverage over much of the world. The dollar is not just the currency of global trade, it's also a geopolitical instrument of influence. Just think about it. How many nations depend on the dollar for trade? How many central banks hold dollars in reserve to maintain their economies? The dollar isn't just money, it's a powerful tool of control. But if China's rise continues at this pace, the US may soon discover that its financial supremacy is no longer assured. China's move away from the dollar is already sending ripples across the world. When an economic giant like China declares its shifting course, it creates enormous waves in the global financial system. For decades, the US dollar has been the default for trade, and America's dominance made sanctions incredibly impactful. Now picture a scenario where China collaborates with other countries to forge trade agreements using gold or the Chinese yuan rather than the dollar. Imagine how that shift would undercut America's ability to leverage sanctions and control the global economy. This isn't some distant future scenario, it's happening right now. China is actively promoting its Belt and Road Initiative, forging trade partnerships that use local currencies or gold-backed transactions. By doing so, China is positioning itself at the forefront of a new global financial order, while the US's role in this evolving system shrinks. Should other countries embrace China's lead and abandon the dollar in favor of local currencies or gold, the US would lose the significant financial leverage it has held for decades, a major blow to its influence on the world stage. So, can Trump, or anyone really, halt China's gold-centric strategy? Trump aggressively employed tariffs, sanctions, and every available tool to slow China's rise. His administration attempted to win the trade war using tough policies and sweeping actions like tariffs and sanctions. However, here's the issue. While Trump imposed tariffs on Chinese goods, China quietly amassed gold, fortifying its financial defenses for turbulent times. And what's the outcome? It means that the sanctions America used to punish China are gradually losing their potency. Why? Because gold is impervious to US sanctions. China's massive gold reserves serve as a kind of economic insurance, a safeguard against America's financial tools. Countries with substantial gold holdings can bypass US restrictions and continue trade with less fear of frozen or blocked assets. In effect, China's gold strategy creates a fortress of economic stability. No matter how many tariffs or sanctions America introduces, China's ability to fall back on gold makes its position far more secure. But this is about more than just China's own economy. China's gold strategy allows it to engage with nations on its own terms, sidestepping US dominance entirely. Countries such as Iran, Russia, and certain African nations are already exploring trade through gold or alternative currencies to avoid US sanctions. China isn't simply safeguarding its economy, it's stepping into leadership, leading the way into a new era of global trade. So, can anyone disrupt China's path? Not without immense global consequences. The US could try to escalate sanctions further, but with countries seeing China's strategy succeed, those sanctions become far less effective. The real question isn't whether China will push forward, it's how quickly other nations will follow its lead. That brings us to the next major concern. Could this truly revolutionize the global financial system? For years, the US has maintained a financial monopoly, with the dollar dominating global trade, reserves, and economies. But this dynamic is shifting. China's rise, combined with its growing gold stockpiles, signals the emergence of a less dollar-centric financial system. Signs of this transformation are already visible. Countries worldwide are seeking to reduce their dependence on the dollar. Some nations are signing trade deals in their own currencies, while others turn to gold as a hedge against dollar instability. Should more countries adopt China's strategy, the global financial order could undergo a significant realignment. The US would no longer sit atop the financial hierarchy. Instead, gold-backed currencies, or even China's yuan, could emerge as primary drivers in global trade. Imagine a world where international commerce is no longer tied to the US dollar, but instead revolves around a diverse mix of currencies and tangible commodities. In such a world, gold could reclaim its status as the most reliable and universally accepted form of money. China's leadership in this transformation would further bolster its global stature, forcing the US to adapt to a radically different financial reality, one far less predictable, far more diversified, and dominated by multiple players. Ultimately, it's a world where China calls the shots, something that would undoubtedly challenge the US's ability to adjust. Before we sign off, we want to thank each of you for commenting and sharing your perspectives. Your insights always amaze us. So what do you think? Is the era of the US dollar coming to an end? Can anything stop its decline? Share your thoughts in the comment section. Do you believe nations could favor the dollar over a gold-backed currency? If you're interested in more content like this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for exclusive videos on China's rapid growth and influence worldwide. Until next time, stay tuned.